economy itself. But despite an extraordinary range of dire predictions that were made by our political opponents and others, the lived experience of carbon pricing has matched the Australian Treasury's economic modelling, which predicted a very modest impact on national income and a very modest impact on particular household incomes. The implementation of water markets has also raised many fears and concerns in Australia. And in many cases, these fears have already been countered by the benefits of the market-based reform. During the long drought, which ended in 2009, irrigators in the Murray-Darling Basin were significantly more productive than if they had not been able to trade water. The water market allowed the private sector to allocate available water to the use which has the greatest economic benefit, and the market approach has allowed the Australian government to step in to buy back water for the environment. The government is buying back 2,750 gigalitres between now and 2019. More than half of that has already been acquired through both direct purchases from willing sellers and through investment to improve the efficiency of irrigation infrastructure. Australia has created these market incentives to drive innovation in water efficiency and low carbon technologies in a way that will safeguard our environment and our economy. But we do need to remain aware of the interactions between our environmental and economic reforms. Looking through the lens of the water-energy nexus is essential if we need to get the big reforms that are still coming right. I want to mention the Australian Government's Energy White Paper, which was released in November last year. We've just had Martin Ferguson, our Minister for Energy, who's responsible for this white paper, here for G'day USA, and I can say that it's a white paper which provides a very clear set of actions to address our immediate energy priorities and to position Australia for long-term change. Importantly, it also highlights the importance of promoting integrated energy and water policy. Just to give a few statistics here, overall the electricity and gas sector currently accounts for approximately 2% of total freshwater consumption in Australia. As well, more than half of the generating capacity in the current national electricity market depends on freshwater for hydroelectricity generation or for cooling in coal or gas-fired generation. Accessing new sources of energy can also have an impact on water resources, most notably development of unconventional gas reserves, something being faced here in the United States, such as coal seam gas, involves both the treatment and disposal of significant volumes of groundwater. In response to what there have been in Australia increasing concerns about the impact coal seam gas and large coal mining activities themselves may have on water resources, Australia has established an independent expert scientific committee which provides scientific advice to government. The committee's advice is expected to substantially improve the collective understanding of the water-related impacts of coal seam gas and large coal mining development, and to strengthen decision-making. It's an area where I think we've had, again, a great deal in common between our two countries. There's been tremendous community disquiet, particularly in rural areas in Australia, about the impacts of coal seam gas, and a lot of what we will have to do is to build the scientific base so as to be able to provide reassurance to those communities if coal seam gas is to proceed, or indeed some of the larger, this is particularly in Queensland in the Bowen Basin, some of the larger coal mining projects are to proceed with community support. At the technical level, the government will continue to work with agencies such as Geoscience Australia to promote better understanding of the interaction between water resources and the energy sector. And this will be done through measures such as linked mapping of energy and water resources. And of course, we are working very hard to accelerate our transformation to clean energy sources. As part of Australia's transformation to a clean energy future, the Australian government has created something called the Carbon Farming Initiative, which extends the benefit of a carbon price by encouraging land sector emissions reductions. And again, it's something that particularly California and Australia have in common. We are the two jurisdictions in the world that have these large offset programs that provide an interaction between pricing carbon and the agricultural sector. It's of course the case that any kind of farming activity can have implications for water. Tree establishment is a particularly sensitive issue in regional Australia due to the potential to adversely impact water availability. There's some perception issues here, a difference really between what happens in perception in urban areas and the perception in rural areas. People in the cities of Australia are usually, in fact probably always, very pleased to see large-scale forest reforestation projects taking place. People in rural areas see them in a quite different way, often as something that just takes up prime agricultural land, and we have to be concerned, and we are concerned about how to achieve satisfaction for people in both urban and rural areas. The Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resources Economics and Sciences, ABARES, estimated that as a result of carbon farming under the Carbon Farming Initiative, new permanent forests could cover 160,000 hectares by 2050 and reduce runoff by up to 272 gigalitres, equivalent to an 8% reduction in total runoff. Sound understanding of our water environment, together with good planning, will continue to provide the tools we need to mitigate this risk. We've sought to avoid perverse impacts on the water system from Carbon Farming Initiative projects, in particular by excluding reforestation projects in moderate to high rainfall areas from the CFI unless they hold adequate water entitlements. Just mention, I've been given the wind up here, so I'll just mention some urban water reforms that are part of our policy in Australia. We do have, by world standards, very extensive water stores in Australian cities. But during the long drought, 97 to 2009, many of these reservoirs were depleted and increasingly severe water restrictions were imposed. The urban water sector uses significant amounts of energy for pumping, treatment, more recently for desalination. And since 2006, Australia has invested heavily in climate-resilient water supply technology and constructed 6 desalination plants serving major metropolitan areas, with renewable energy offsetting most of those plants' carbon emissions. As a result, increases in supply of desalinated water will not result in comparable increases in carbon emissions. Another mitigating factor in the growth of energy use in the urban water sector is the marked decline in residential water use, which fell by 13% over the last 5 years of the drought from 2006 to 2011. And it's something of a success story in government policy as to what you can do in demand management if governments, particularly state governments in this case, set their minds to it. The decline was very much driven by stringent water restrictions and effective demand management programs, not just things like giving rebates put in household rainwater storage tanks, but also achieving change in community attitudes. The national government, the government of which I'm part, has also contributed to this change in household behaviour through the Water Efficiency Labelling and Standards, the WELL scheme. It's a product labelling scheme which helps consumers to choose the most water efficient products. We've got a range of urban water initiatives that have delivered on multiple objectives of water security, energy efficiency and low carbon emissions. And particularly during the drought, our national government provided competitive grants for major urban water infrastructure such as desalination and stormwater harvesting to address water security. We have centres of excellence in desalination and water recycling research that have been established. They, of course, have got a mandate to develop and commercialise new desalination and water recycling technologies and initiatives that support energy-efficient water use. Recognising that Australia is not alone in grappling with limited water resources, we aim to promote innovation at home as well as deliver benefits to communities around the world facing similar water management challenges. We've got research centres and water managers that are, and some of them are in this room, establishing strong links here in the United States, but also in China, in India and Europe. So to sum up, Australia has taken ambitious action on climate change and on water, and we think we have the policy settings that we need to transition to a clean energy future. Through collaborative and practical projects, including the Australia-US Climate, Energy and Water Nexus project at the University of Sydney and the Australian National University, Australia and the US can share the solutions and advances in technology and policy making which are needed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, to secure our clean energy future and to protect our valuable water resources. And I wish all of you very well in your dialogue today. Thank you.